Have you ever noticed that some of the kindest, most emotionally aware people rarely post pictures of themselves? It's not because they lack confidence. It's not because they think they're unattractive. And it's definitely not because they have nothing interesting to share. In many cases, there's something much deeper happening beneath the surface. Empaths experience the world differently. They don't just see people, they feel them. They don't simply hear emotions, they absorb them. Because of that, the attention that comes with posting a selfie can feel surprisingly overwhelming. If you've ever wondered why an empath stays quiet online while everyone else seems eager to be seen, these 7 reasons might explain everything. Reason number 1. They value genuine connection more than attention. Empaths aren't usually motivated by visibility. They're motivated by meaning. A selfie often invites quick reactions, likes, comments, and surface-level compliments. But an empath is usually searching for conversations that have depth. They'd rather spend an hour talking with one person who truly understands them than receive thousands of heart emojis from strangers. For them, being known is more valuable than being noticed. Attention fades. Connection stays. That's why many empaths post ideas, art, meaningful quotes, or moments from life before they'll ever post another picture of themselves. Reason number 2. They feel the energy behind every response. Most people see notifications. Empaths feel intentions. Every comment carries emotional weight. Every compliment has a tone. Every criticism lingers longer than most people realize. They can often sense insecurity hiding behind praise, jealousy disguised as humor, or manipulation wrapped inside kindness. That emotional processing becomes exhausting. So instead of inviting hundreds of emotional interactions, many empaths simply choose peace. Silence often feels healthier than constant exposure. Reason number 3. Privacy feels like emotional safety. Not everything valuable needs to be public. Empaths understand this instinctively. The more people know about them, the more emotional access people believe they have. Some individuals begin making assumptions. Others become overly familiar. A few become controlling. Empaths have usually learned this lesson the hard way. Protecting their private life isn't secrecy. It's emotional self-respect. They don't hide because they're afraid. They hide because they've discovered that peace grows in places not everyone can reach. Reason number 4. They don't want validation to become a habit. The human brain loves approval. Social media knows that. Every notification releases a small reward that can slowly become addictive. Empaths are often highly self-aware. They notice when their mood begins depending on other people's reactions. That realization makes them uncomfortable. They never want their worth to depend on strangers scrolling past a photo. So they step back. Not because they dislike compliments. Because they refuse to let external validation replace internal confidence. Real confidence grows in quiet moments, not in comment sections. Reason number 5. They notice how social media changes people. Empaths spend their lives observing human behavior. They notice subtle shifts. Someone becomes obsessed with appearance. Someone else starts comparing themselves to everyone online. Friendships become competitions. Authenticity slowly gives way to performance. Empaths recognize that social media can encourage people to become brands instead of human beings. Rather than participate in that cycle, many choose authenticity over popularity. They would rather be remembered for how they made people feel than for the perfect angle of a Plutif. Reason number 6. They prefer experiencing moments instead of documenting them. Imagine standing on a beautiful mountain at sunrise. Many people immediately reach for their phone. An empath often does something different. They pause. They breathe. They absorb the silence. They let the moment become part of them instead of turning it into content. Their memories are often richer because they experience them fully. Some of life's greatest moments lose their magic the second they become performances. Empaths understand that presence is a gift. Not everything meaningful needs proof. Reason number 7. Their identity exists beyond their appearance. Perhaps this is the biggest reason of all. Empaths know that a face is only a tiny fraction of who someone truly is. Your compassion isn't visible in a selfie. Your resilience isn't captured by a camera. Your wisdom can't be measured by lighting or filters. The strongest parts of your character rarely appear in photographs. Empaths invest more energy into becoming beautiful on the inside than appearing impressive on the outside. They understand something our culture often forgets. People eventually stop remembering what you looked like, but they never forget how you made them feel. And that difference changes everything. Final thoughts. If you know someone who rarely posts selfies, don't assume they're insecure. Don't assume they're lonely. And don't assume they've disappeared. Sometimes the quietest people are simply protecting something incredibly valuable. Their peace. Empaths often live in a world that constantly asks them to perform, compete, compare, and seek approval. Instead, they choose authenticity. They choose meaningful relationships over public attention. They choose inner confidence over digital validation. And perhaps that's not a weakness at all. Perhaps it's a reminder that in a world obsessed with being seen, there's still extraordinary strength in simply being real. So if you're an empath who rarely posts photos of yourself, know this. You don't have to explain your silence. You don't have to chase visibility. Your value has never depended on how many people see your face. It has always depended on the kindness you leave behind, the peace you protect, and the lives you quietly change, often without anyone realizing it. Sometimes, the people making the biggest difference are the ones who never ask to be the center of attention. Empaths naturally place far more importance on meaningful human connection than on attracting attention. While many people enjoy sharing selfies as a way to stay visible, celebrate milestones, or receive positive feedback, empaths often approach social media from an entirely different perspective. Their focus is rarely on being noticed. Instead, they are interested in understanding people, building trust, and creating conversations that have emotional depth. A quick compliment or a stream of likes may feel pleasant for a moment, but it often doesn't satisfy what an empath is truly searching for. They want interactions that feel genuine, honest, and emotionally real. This difference comes from the way empaths experience relationships. They tend to notice emotional subtleties that others overlook. They pay attention to tone, intention, sincerity, and vulnerability. Because of this, they often find surface-level interactions less fulfilling than meaningful. Conversations where people openly share their thoughts, fears, dreams, or life experiences. A simple photograph may capture someone's appearance, but it rarely communicates who they are beneath the surface. For an empath, personality, kindness, and emotional honesty are far more interesting than carefully chosen images. Many empaths also feel uncomfortable when attention becomes the main purpose of communication. They don't necessarily dislike appreciation, but they prefer it to come naturally rather than be pursued. They often ask themselves whether a post contributes something valuable or simply invites people to look at them. If the answer feels centered only on gaining visibility, they may decide not to share it at all. This isn't because they believe taking selfies is wrong. It's because their personal values tend to prioritize substance over recognition. Empaths usually remember conversations much longer than compliments. They remember someone opening up about a difficult chapter in life, expressing gratitude, or sharing an honest moment of vulnerability. These experiences create emotional bonds that feel lasting and significant. In comparison, receiving hundreds of brief reactions on a photo can seem surprisingly empty. While others may measure success by engagement numbers, an empath is often more interested in whether an interaction left someone feeling understood, supported, or encouraged. This mindset also influences the way they communicate online. Instead of frequently posting pictures of themselves, many empaths choose to share ideas, meaningful reflections, inspiring quotes, books they've enjoyed, beautiful landscapes, acts of kindness, or experiences that taught them something important. They hope these posts encourage thought rather than simply attract attention. Their goal is often to create value for others, instead of becoming the center of focus themselves. Another reason meaningful connection matters so much is that empaths often invest deeply in the people they care about. They don't enjoy collecting large numbers of acquaintances if those relationships lack authenticity. They would rather have a few close friendships built on honesty and mutual respect than thousands of followers who know very little about them. Quality consistently outweighs quantity in the way they build relationships, both online and offline. Because of this, social media can sometimes feel like a place where appearances receive more attention than character. Popularity may be determined by aesthetics, trends, or algorithms instead of compassion, integrity, or wisdom. Empaths recognize this imbalance, and many choose not to participate in it as actively. They don't want their value, or anyone else's, to be reduced to a collection of carefully edited images or numbers displayed beneath a post. Many empaths are also naturally good listeners. They often find greater satisfaction in learning about other people's lives than talking about themselves. They ask thoughtful questions, remember important details, and genuinely care about what others are experiencing. This outward focus means they may feel little desire to regularly showcase themselves because their attention is directed toward understanding others rather than seeking recognition for themselves. Their sense of fulfillment often comes from moments that cannot be measured publicly. Helping someone through a difficult day, offering encouragement without expecting anything in return, making another person feel safe enough to be honest, or quietly supporting a friend through a personal struggle carries far more emotional value than receiving online admiration. These experiences reinforce the belief that genuine human connection is built through empathy, trust, consistency, and presence, rather than visibility or popularity. Empaths are often deeply aware of the emotional atmosphere around them, even in places where most people assume emotions don't really exist, such as social media. While others may see a platform filled with photos, comments, and notifications, an empath often experiences it as a space full of emotional signals. Every interaction carries a certain energy. Every comment reflects an intention. Every message leaves an emotional impression. Because they naturally absorb more of these emotional cues, public exposure can become surprisingly exhausting, leading many empaths to protect their patient's emotional energy by limiting how much of themselves they share online. For an empath, posting a selfie is not simply uploading a picture. It can feel like opening a door that allows countless people to form opinions, make assumptions, and direct their emotional attention toward them. Positive comments may feel warm and encouraging, but they also bring expectations. Critical remarks can linger much longer than they might for someone who is less emotionally sensitive. Even silence can create questions. An empath may wonder why certain people reacted differently, whether someone misunderstood their intentions, or whether a post unintentionally attracted the wrong kind of attention. This heightened awareness isn't always something they choose. It often happens automatically. They notice subtle differences in the way people communicate. A compliment may seem genuine, or it may carry hints of comparison, jealousy, or hidden motives. A simple emoji might appear friendly on the surface, but feel emotionally distant depending on who sends it. While many people scroll past these details without giving them much thought, empaths tend to process them deeply. That constant emotional interpretation requires energy, and over time it becomes mentally draining. Many empaths have also experienced situations where being open with others resulted in disappointment. They may have trusted people who later became manipulative, overly dependent, or emotionally demanding. Some have discovered that sharing too much about themselves invited unnecessary judgment or criticism. Others have learned that not everyone who appears supportive has positive intentions. These experiences teach them that emotional boundaries are essential, and one of the easiest ways to maintain those boundaries is by reducing unnecessary public exposure. Privacy becomes more than a preference. It becomes a form of emotional protection. When fewer people have access to their personal life, fewer people have opportunities to project opinions, expectations, or negativity onto them. This creates a greater sense of emotional stability. Rather than constantly managing outside reactions, they can focus their attention on the relationships that genuinely matter. Empaths also understand that emotional energy is limited. Every day involves listening to others, supporting friends or family, noticing emotional changes in the people around them, and often carrying concerns that aren't even their own. By the time they reach social media, they may simply have little desire to invite hundreds of additional emotional interactions into their day. Choosing not to post frequently isn't a rejection of other people. It's often an act of preserving the emotional resources they need for the parts of life that truly matter. Another factor is that empaths tend to value peace over constant stimulation. Social media encourages continuous engagement through notifications, comments, direct messages, and reactions. For many users, this activity feels exciting. For an empath, it can feel overwhelming. Every notification represents another emotional interaction that requires attention. Even positive engagement can become tiring when it never seems to stop. Limiting personal posts naturally reduces this constant flow of emotional input. Empaths are also careful about the kind of people they attract. Public visibility doesn't only bring supportive individuals. It can also attract criticism, envy, unhealthy curiosity, or people looking for emotional validation from someone who naturally offers compassion. Because empaths often struggle with saying no, they recognize the importance of preventing these situations before they begin. Sharing less about themselves creates healthier emotional boundaries and allows them to 19 militi more intentionally who has access to their personal world. This protective instinct doesn't mean empaths are antisocial or fearful. Many are warm, outgoing, and deeply caring in the right environments. The difference is that they prefer relationships where trust develops naturally rather than through constant public exposure. They feel safer sharing personal experiences with people who have consistently demonstrated kindness, honesty, and respect instead of broadcasting intimate moments to audiences whose intentions they cannot fully understand. Protecting emotional energy also helps empaths remain authentic. When people become overly focused on how others might react, they often begin editing their personalities to match expectations. Empaths are especially aware of this possibility because they easily sense the emotions and opinions of those around them. By limiting how much they expose themselves online, they reduce the pressure to perform, impress, or seek approval. This gives them more freedom to remain connected to their own thoughts, values, and emotional balance, without constantly adjusting themselves to fit the reactions of a digital audience. Empaths often build their sense of self-worth from internal values rather than external approval. While many people naturally enjoy receiving compliments, likes, or positive comments on social media, empaths usually recognize that these forms of validation are temporary. They can be encouraging for a moment, but they don't define who a person truly is. Because of this perspective, many empaths are less motivated to post selfies simply to gain attention or reassurance. Their confidence grows from living in alignment with their values, treating others with kindness, and knowing they have acted with integrity, even when no one is watching. This mindset usually develops through experience. Many empaths have spent years trying to make other people happy. They have offered support, listened without judgment, and placed the needs of others before their own. Along the way, they often discover that no amount of external appreciation is ever enough to satisfy someone who depends entirely on the opinions of others. Praise comes and goes. People's attention shifts quickly. Someone who admires you today may ignore you tomorrow. Watching these patterns teaches empaths that relying on public approval creates emotional instability rather than genuine confidence. Because they naturally observe human behavior, empaths also notice how easily people begin comparing themselves online. A person uploads a photo, waits for reactions, and unconsciously measures their value by numbers on a screen. If engagement is high, they feel successful. If it is lower than expected, they begin questioning themselves. Empaths recognize how easily this cycle can become emotionally exhausting. They understand that confidence based on changing reactions is fragile because it depends on factors outside their control. Many empaths choose not to participate in this pattern because they want their identity to remain grounded in something more permanent. They would rather feel proud of their character than receive admiration for their appearance. Compassion, honesty, patience, wisdom, and generosity are qualities they value deeply because these traits remain meaningful long after physical appearance changes. While a selfie may capture someone's face for a single moment, it cannot fully represent the kindness they show, the resilience they have developed, or the quiet strength they demonstrate during difficult times. Empaths also tend to ask themselves important questions before sharing personal content. They may wonder whether they are posting because they genuinely want to share a meaningful moment or because they are hoping for reassurance. If the motivation feels rooted in seeking approval, they often pause. This habit of self-reflection helps them become more aware of their intentions and keeps them from developing an unhealthy dependence on external validation. They prefer actions that feel authentic rather than emotionally driven by the need for recognition. Another reason internal confidence becomes so important is that empaths have often experienced misunderstanding. Their kindness may have been mistaken for weakness. Their generosity may have been taken for granted. Their quiet nature may have been interpreted as insecurity. These experiences teach them that public opinion is not always accurate. People frequently judge based on limited information, personal biases, or assumptions that have little to do with reality. Once empaths realize this, they become less interested in convincing everyone to see them a certain way. Instead, they focus on knowing themselves. They invest time in personal growth, emotional healing, learning, creativity, meaningful relationships, and developing qualities that bring lasting fulfillment. Their confidence gradually becomes less dependent on applause and more connected to self-respect. This doesn't mean they reject compliments or appreciation. They simply don't rely on them to feel valuable. Social media often encourages people to present idealized versions of themselves. Perfect lighting, carefully selected angles, edited photos, and curated lifestyles can create unrealistic expectations. Empaths usually recognize that these images rarely tell the complete story. They understand that everyone experiences struggles, disappointments, insecurities, and moments of self-doubt, even if those realities never appear online. This awareness makes them less interested in creating an image that appears flawless, because they value authenticity over perfection. They also understand that emotional fulfillment comes from experiences that cannot be measured by likes or followers. Spending quality time with loved ones, helping someone through a difficult situation, learning something meaningful, expressing creativity, or simply finding peace within themselves provides a deeper sense of satisfaction than temporary online recognition. These moments strengthen their self-worth because they reflect who they are rather than how others perceive them. For many empaths, confidence grows quietly through consistency. It develops by keeping promises to themselves, showing compassion without expecting rewards, setting healthy boundaries, admitting mistakes, and continuing to grow even when no one notices. These daily choices create a foundation of self-respect that remains steady regardless of changing opinions or social media trends. Their value becomes something they experience internally, rather than something they wait for others to confirm through comments, reactions, or public approval. Empaths often place greater importance on living authentically than creating an impressive one's online image. While social media encourages people to present carefully selected moments of their lives, empaths are usually more interested in experiencing life as it truly is, rather than shaping it into content for others to consume. They understand that there can be a significant difference between appearing happy and genuinely feeling at peace. Because of this awareness, they often feel little motivation to constantly document themselves through selfies or polished personal posts. Authenticity means allowing actions, values, and character to speak louder than appearances. For an empath, the way they treat people carries far more meaning than the way they look in a photograph. They believe kindness shown in private matters more than compliments received in public. Their sense of fulfillment comes from knowing they have been honest, compassionate, and respectful, even when those qualities are invisible to everyone else. This mindset naturally shifts their attention away from maintaining an online image and toward becoming the kind of person they genuinely admire. Many empaths are also highly sensitive to anything that feels artificial. They quickly notice when conversations become performative, when people exaggerate parts of their lives, or when online personalities seem carefully designed to gain admiration rather than express authenticity. This sensitivity often makes them uncomfortable with the pressure to present a perfect version of themselves. They know that every person experiences moments of uncertainty, disappointment, and emotional struggle, yet social media often encourages people to hide those realities behind carefully edited photos and idealized lifestyles. Because they recognize this contrast, empaths often choose simplicity instead of performance. They do not feel a strong need to prove that their lives are exciting, successful, or flawless. They understand that meaningful experiences retain their value even if they are never shared publicly. A peaceful walk, a heartfelt conversation, a quiet morning with a favorite book, or an act of light kindness offered without recognition can feel far more rewarding than creating content. designed to attract attention. Empaths also tend to value presence over presentation. When they spend time with family or close friends, they often want to be emotionally available, rather than distracted by documenting every moment. Instead of searching for the perfect angle or worrying about how something will appear online, they prefer to fully experience what is happening in front of them. They believe memories become richer when they are lived completely instead of constantly viewed through the lens of a camera. Another reason authenticity matters so much is that empaths understand how easy it is to lose touch with oneself when constantly seeking approval. The desire to fit trends, attract engagement, or satisfy audience expectations can slowly influence personal choices. Someone may begin dressing differently, visiting places they don't truly enjoy, or sharing opinions they don't want to genuinely hold, simply because those behaviors receive positive reactions. Empaths are especially aware of this possibility because they naturally adapt to the proofs to station is bias. Limiting their focus on online image helps them remain connected to their own values instead of becoming shaped by public opinion. Many empaths also appreciate the freedom that comes from not needing constant visibility. They don't feel pressured to post every achievement, every vacation, every celebration, or every personal milestone. They understand that some of life's most meaningful experiences become even more valuable when they remain private. Certain moments are meant to strengthen relationships, encourage personal growth, or create lasting memories rather than generate online engagement. Their preference for authenticity also influences the relationships they build. Empaths usually want people to appreciate them for who they truly are, rather than for an image they have carefully constructed. They seek friendships based on honesty, trust, emotional safety, and mutual understanding. Presenting an exaggerated version of themselves would only attract connections built on unrealistic expectations. By remaining genuine, they create space for relationships where they can be accepted without pretending to be someone else. Empaths often recognize that appearance changes over time, but character continues to grow. Physical beauty evolves with age, trends constantly change, and online popularity can disappear almost overnight. Qualities like compassion, integrity, wisdom, humility, patience, and emotional maturity become more valuable with every passing year. Rather than investing most of their energy into maintaining an attractive public image, they choose to strengthen these lasting qualities because they know they shape every relationship and every experience throughout life. This perspective also allows empaths to feel comfortable stepping away from the constant demands of social media. They don't measure their importance by how frequently they appear online or how often people would talk about them. They understand that a meaningful life is built through genuine experiences, sincere relationships, personal growth, quiet acts of kindness, and staying true to their values even when no audience is watching. Their greatest satisfaction comes from knowing that the person they are in private is the same person others encounter in real life, without the need for carefully crafted appearances or endless efforts to maintain an image that doesn't fully reflect who they are.